Forgive me for pulling you aside again, but,
Maybe if Alan Wake 2 had released just a few short weeks after it did this year, Starfield might have had a chance, but in this version of the story, it sneaked in just at the buzzer, and Starfield got shut out from every category except Best RPG. I'm not sure if anyone really cares about the Game Awards, but it does beg the question, what does Alan Wake 2 have that Starfield doesn't? I can boil it down to one thing: the memos. But to really understand why the memos are so revealing, we have to dive into some other contrast between the two games first. And unfortunately, having quite a bit of lines of dialogue isn't a category at this year's Game Awards, so Starfield has to sit this one out.
there's so much to process right now.
And I can't say shut up.
We should have spent more time being prepared for the consequences.
What does this
Our
matter?
current-
I don't think there was one conversation in Starfield that kept me engaged. Thank God for subtitles so I could barrel my way through, vaguely reading what the characters were saying. For each random NPC, there are at least 3 dialogue options, oftentimes 5, all of which lead to rambling on random tangents and jibber-jabber, and 9 times out of 10 it's the same stories about their lazy fucking business partner who hasn't returned with a shipment yet, and could you please get it for me? Yeah, okay. My enjoyment of Starfield would surely not be harmed, and in fact would likely increase if NPCs acted more like what they are: objective marker dispensers. And I could just click on an NPC, and whatever objective marker was hidden in their dialogue tree would magically appear in front of me. Then I could happily point my character in the direction of the little white objective marker until the distance got to 0, at which point I could turn my character around and point my character at the next little white objective marker. Wash, rinse, repeat. Thank you, Todd. But I would settle for a focused, story-driven dialogue without all the damn fat, too. You have to listen to so much fluff, I eventually just see it all as fluff. I don't care.
Oh, absolutely. It's also clear. That leads me to one. Yes, I agree. When you pass, will you remember?
Do you think I fit in well with the rest of Constellation?
Why is everyone so insecure? There's a reason that I'm ignoring you, despite your endless insecure pleas to get me to talk to you. And it's because Starfield has taught me, much like Pavlov taught his dog, that if I engage with you, my reward will be wearing out my thumb skipping all of your dialogue, and I need that thumb to get XP to level up my persuasion skill tree because I still have no idea how that fucking works.
Nice try, but no.
In Alan Wake 2, by extreme contrast, it didn't even occur to me to skip any dialogue. I actually turned subtitles off. Why? Because the dialogue is all intentional. If they're saying it, it's important to the story. There aren't 6 levels of dialogue trees that all feel like the writer threw them in there because a producer sent them a spreadsheet labeled backstory. In Alan Wake 2, there's maybe 2 options for dialogue. It doesn't feel like homework, and the options are very rarely rambling on, tangents, or jibber-jabber. The game teaches you early on that dialogue will be important, intentional, and entertaining, so I have no qualms about talking to everyone.
It's me, silly. Rose. You know me. I don't think I do. And what horrible thing happened to my baby girl? She drowned. Your daughter. That's so weird you don't remember. How do you know I have a daughter?
Even listening in on other characters is often entertaining, like the 2 policemen talking about the body on the ground or the guy in the police station to pay his speeding ticket.
I'll be right with you, sir.
Yep. Just here to pay my ticket. Whenever you're ready to take my money. No speeding happening here, I see.
Sir?
I literally remember what he said. I don't remember what anyone said in Starfield. No, wait, I remember skipping through the part when Heller told me he had something to talk to me about, and it was his rock collection.
Already taken care of. It hurt my heart a little to give it, whether she does or not. All right, bye for now.
Which brings me to the next chasm of difference between the two, which has a lot to do with my lack of interest in chatting with anyone, and that's the characters themselves. Did you notice in Starfield that you hated every single member of Constellation? I couldn't wait to go out on my own with a freaking robot. It was also a little much. The only one I sort of liked was the old man because he was at least surly. When they weren't busy telling you how great you are, they were pulling you aside to tell you about their problems, which always came out of left field. If this were real life and someone you barely knew took you aside to tell you about their life issues, you'd back away slowly, trying to hold on to an awkward smile. And these characters have no flaws. I think Sarah's greatest flaw was that she didn't try hard enough. That was her biggest flaw. Their characters didn't develop by showing you who they were. It was almost exclusively them telling you who they were, which is such a basic mistake. I can maybe forgive them for all the other NPCs being uninteresting, but the main core of people you interact with? No. In Alan Wake 2, the characters are rich. Their backstories aren't tacked on like a tail on a donkey at a Vault 101 birthday party. You've got the gruff detective who's been divorced 1,000 times, the caring motherly detective who's in touch with their psychic side, the writer who's trying to figure out whether or not he even exists, the small town hokey detectives. They're also heavily flawed. It makes for a compelling playthrough. And I knew the gruff detective got divorced because he casually made a joke about it over the radio once. He didn't pull me aside for a heart-to-heart to talk about it. And the story of the game actually has an impact on the characters beyond, oh wow, you're so great. They care, they're in danger, the stakes are high. There was really only one moment in Starfield where the stakes got high, and by then, I had stopped caring. Which brings me to the memos. Maybe I'm an insane person, but the memos in Starfield really bothered me. I'd go to this planet light years away from home, traverse miles of land, scanning plants, genociding whole animal species, then find an abandoned base that definitely has some kind of story behind it. All excited to take in this unique opportunity for second-person narrative, I'd find a memo and get this. Every time. A generic screen with generic text and a generic font. I hate this. I'm insane. Just like the dialogue trees, just like the characters, just like the quest, they are plentiful and generic. It's like getting a million peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on white bread. Just because I picked it up at a moon base doesn't mean that I'm gonna like it more than the one I picked up on the side of the road at Constellation headquarters. They look and taste just the same. In Alan Wake, on the other hand, every memo is real. Every memo has a personality. You see the handwriting, you see the drawings. One memo had several entries written in pen, and the first one was written much earlier, so it was more faded than the others. Every memo has intention. Someone worked hard to make you feel what whoever wrote the note was feeling. The look of every memo tells a story in and of itself. So that's why Alan Wake 2 was nominated many, many times, and Starfield was only nominated for Best RPG. Starfield is large, but generic. Alan Wake is small, but specific. It has intention, it has personality. Starfield's personality can be summed up in one word: Todd.